Welcome back to the Polarity Plunge YouTube channel or the Reap Your Roots podcast if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Reap Your Roots, where we look back to better move forward, is mostly focused on holistic health, yes, but mental health, emotional health, our upbringing, our ancestors. And Polarity Plunge is expanding into that, more so about all holistic health. And specifically, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to be talking about the 5 pillars of Polarity Plunge. So it's a really special episode because it's a crossover, but also because we have none other than the beautiful magician, Rachel, my wife here, to give us her wisdom bombs and also her laughs and everything else, her stories, everything else that we're going to talk about today. We wanted to talk a little bit about our story because we just opened a brick and mortar location for Polarity Plunge in upstate South Carolina. And it started off as just an idea and has evolved into a lot of our ideas and the things that we love kind of rolled into one. So we wanted to talk about how we got there. And to start off, I'll give the 5 pillars and then start drilling Rach with some questions for her to answer. Well, the 5 pillars of Polarity Plunge are cold plunging, sauna, so the cold, the heat, breathwork, movement, and the 5th one, do you remember? Community. Yeah, community, belonging. That is our vibe, is building that tribe. So thanks for being here, Rach.
No problem.
Yeah. First, let's start off, I guess, talking a little bit about who you are, what you do at Polarity Plunge, what you do solo as well on your own, a little bit of your backstory of what you bring to this table.
My backstory?
Yeah, and as relation to what you do at Polarity Plunge.
So, I'm a therapeutic breathwork facilitator. You want me to talk about how I got into it, or
Sure.
Kind of?
Yeah, wherever you're going with it.
Okay, so what first got me into breathwork was you. I actually was not I don't know, you would come home and tell me how impactful it was, and I just wasn't buying it because you'd go and do it at work events and stuff. And at that time, we were kind of juggling a lot, kind of a stressful time in our life, in our marriage. And you were like, hey, I think this would really help you. You should try it out. I was like, no, thank you. And then you tricked me into going on a date. Well, no, just tricked me into going on a date. I love to go on dates. But a breathwork date.
Yeah, that was the trick.
Yeah, that was the trick. The trick.
But it was breathwork.
Yeah, the date was not a trick.
To be clear.
Yeah, let me clarify. But anyway, so we went and had a couple facilitate for us, both of us. And yeah, it was just I was blown away at how impactful it was. And one of the downloads that came through during that session was just that I need to learn how to facilitate breathwork for other people, to help people. And that kind of just really kick-started my journey. It was funny because I went to really not even caring at all about it to wow, I'm super passionate about learning how to do this and facilitate. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, it was immediate too. I remember going in, you being so skeptical, and then I think later that night, in the car, you were like, I think I need to learn to do that.
Yeah.
That's a 180. Well, I had a hunch that you'd like it.
Yeah, good work.
And that I didn't have a conscious hunch that you'd be so good at it now, but now as you've gone through your facilitation, training, got certified, and just who you are more than anything, you've been leading these for about 2 years now. This was back in 2022, so 2.5 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
You've been helping people. You've been doing breathwork sessions. Maybe for someone who doesn't understand anything about breathwork, what is it? What's the kind that you do? Are there different kinds?
Yeah, so sometimes people call them different things, but there's basically two categories of breath work that you can do. One is more down regulating and calming. It's called usually like functional breath work. So that's like box breathing or like in for 4 seconds, out for 8 seconds. Usually it's to calm you down, or like to, for meditating, people just focus on their breathing. What I do is called therapeutic breath work, and there's also a few different types of therapeutic, but the type I'm certified in is called Spiritus, and therapeutic breathwork sessions are typically a lot longer. You're upregulating your nervous system. And so like what a session would look like with me would be like you drop into the body, obviously kind of get grounded, and then it's called conscious connected breathing. You're actively breathing for about 35 minutes. And what that's doing is a lot of things, but it's shifting your brain waves actually, so you kind of it makes you feel like you're kind of asleep, and it helps things that are in your subconscious and even the unconscious mind kind of come up and come through, and it's activating your nervous system so you can complete cycles of like trauma basically, and move that energy through your body, and we play with like making sound, tapping. Sometimes I do like light massage or like a little bit of energy work. And then, once you kind of come to completion on that, we help you, ground back into the body and, just kind of integrate what came through.
Yeah.
Was that the question?
That's the answer. That is the answer. There's a lot that made me think of. Random, I guess, side note about a lot of what she's explaining to the science of it. There's some books in Western science now that are so good to understand more how breath work works in getting into that subconscious mind you mentioned. Like, we're consciously using the breath, inhaling and exhaling for a more extended period of time, so that we can get into the subconscious things that come up in our, you mentioned trauma, but I would also add, not just trauma of your childhood, but like stress of your day-to-day.
Yeah, totally.
There's emotions, there's stress, there's overwhelm, that because we have to operate in our society with our jobs and with our kids and with all these things that we have to be doing all the time, we don't have much time to process a lot of the emotion, and we can't operate if we were processing all of the emotion. It's just the nature of our lifestyle, the way we live. We can't operate if we're going to be constantly always processing. So where these emotions or this overwhelm or this stress gets stored is the body. The Body Keeps the Score is a really good book. Waking the Tiger is also a really good book. These are books where Western medicine and science is now starting to recognize these ancient practices, because breathwork is ancient. I came at it more from the yogic perspective of pranayama and going through yoga teacher training. But 4,000 or 5,000-year-old practices that are now being proven by science, being proven by Western medicine, that we are storing a lot of our trauma or our stress in our body. And if you think about it practically, just even in our shoulders, when we're stressed, they're tense. When you're scared about something, you get a pit in your stomach or your heart drops. Like, our body responds to our mind. And so this is a way to use our body, use our breath, to then, would you say, respond to our mind? Or
Honestly, I like to tell people that they don't have to worry at all about what's happening in their mind, like during breath work, because your body just knows what to do. Like, you don't have to, because no amount of mindset work or whatever is going to like outpace how fast your nervous system can go. So So it's kind of like you're working in reverse. You're working to regulate your nervous system, make it stronger so that whatever mindset work or, whatever it is that you do can be integrated into your body.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a fire line. And that brings me to, we're kind of talking about it already, but the two of our pillars here at Polarity Plunge that most people do not know about is breath work and then movement, and which is what I do, somatic movement and experiencing and practicing. And I use modalities such as yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong. But even before that, I think my meditation was like snowboarding or trail running or cold plunging, which is another way we're using our body to completely drop into the body. I like how you said that. Like, trust the body's intelligence. The body knows. And we can't reason, or the rationale of our mind, the logic of our mind can't outpace what our body knows and is guiding us to do. Will you give us an example of how, I guess, how you get people in their body when you're doing the breath?
Yeah, a lot of times if they are feeling maybe a little hesitant to be still, because that's the biggest thing is first dropping in and allowing yourself to be present. I don't know, a lot of times I'll kind of lead them in a little meditation where they can feel themselves grounding, because usually you're just laying down, allowing them to just relax. And yeah, honestly, once you start breathing actively like that, as long as, and I kind of remind people throughout, just feel your body. If you feel like you have thoughts coming through, just allow them to, pass by like clouds or whatever.
In that voice.
Yeah, exactly, like this. No, but yeah, I feel like the breath does a lot of the work, especially I'll have people, there's usually a point in the session where from when you start to whenever it is, sometimes it's 2 minutes in, sometimes it's 15 minutes in, whatever, where your ego's kind of running and it's this is stupid, this isn't gonna work, this isn't gonna do anything, blah, 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 blah. And then you just hit a point where you've been breathing long enough that like I said, your brain waves will start to shift and you can just kind of drop in.
Into theta. And tying it back to the how this helps with trauma and with the subconscious. Theta is our subconscious mind, is where things are getting stored. And actually, fun fact for you, if we're talking about childhood trauma, from 0 to 7 years old, you're in theta, which is, very simply speaking, you're absorbing things from your environment, from your parents. You're absorbing the bioenergy of things, of how things are said, of experiences, and your conscious brain isn't going to remember any of that. People are always surprised when they get into breathwork sessions or meditation sessions sometimes. They have big emotional releases, but they don't know where it's coming from. I remember the first time that I started to get into breathwork, the first 4 or 5 times I cried. And there was a period of my life from probably 13 to 21 that I did not cry. I could count maybe 2 or 3, maybe a handful of times I cried from 13 to my early 20s. And then I found breathwork a few years later, still very hard time crying, very hard time embodying my emotions, right? I could feel sadness. It's not like I was numb. I could feel joy. I could feel all of my emotions, or so I thought at the time, right? But I couldn't embody them, which is truly where feeling starts, right? It's in the sensation. It's in the bodily sensations. It's in the felt perception. And so what breathwork unlocked for me was, it was funny. I'd get in there and I was leading teams of guys, sales teams, and I would just be crying with a bunch of other dudes as I was breathing. Or sometimes you'll get people who have, anger releases and they're yelling and things like this. Thank you. The point I love, I know we've hit on this already, but that it's not for your conscious mind. A lot of what our paradigm is today in the Western world is talk therapy. Let's just talk about our problems, talk about them and talk about them and talk about them. And then somehow we'll think about them differently. But really, when we're dealing with emotions, it's not on the verbal, logical, rational level. It's on the body level. It's on the heart level. It's on the sensations and the feelings. You feel your feelings, is what I always say. We're not here to think about our feelings. We're here to feel about our feelings.
Feelings are for feeling.
Yeah, feelings are for feeling. And so this is a way when you have a really, strong ego, like you said, people will get that point where they have their ego in the way and it's like, this isn't working. And then all of a sudden, through the breath and through just consciously breathing, they drop in. When you said drop in, it's dropping into your body, it's dropping into feeling. And for me personally, way more effective than hashing out my feelings and talking about my feelings all the time. And even more effective, honestly, than a lot of the things I used to do to deal with my feelings, like kickboxing or going on runs, or those would help me embody them because I could be at the gym. That's why guys love the gym. It's because they can go and infuse all their anger into the barbell. And that helps to an extent, but there's a point where there's deeper levels of who we are as human beings, of the feelings, and breathwork is like a straight shot right to it. So yeah, I love that explanation. And so where you can do breathwork. On Polarity Plunge website, Rachel does these hour sessions. We have a back room in Polarity Plunge that's set up with all the vibes, and you can book an actual hour-long breathwork session with Rachel, who started the business Exhaled Embrace a couple of years ago. She does it online as well. Online, but if you're in upstate South Carolina, in person. And online's just as impactful as far as the guiding of what she's saying and the breathing, and having a facilitator there to help you move the energy and move the feelings out. And so yeah, you have that there, and then you also have a place on Polarity Plunge where you can book a somatic session with me. And do you have anything else to add about breathwork?
No, it's okay.
We'll probably circle back to it. To tell my story a little bit about movement medicine, right, or somatic experiencing. All growing up, I was really not even conscious of called to it through snowboarding, through trail running, through sports, through rugby, through all of these things. It was just, I loved movement. I would rather move than, like I said, talk about my feelings. I'd rather find a way in which I can embody. So right before we moved out here to Greenville, South Carolina, I operated a business. Rachel kind of alluded to the strain on our family, on our marriage. We lived apart. We had 2 kids under 2. I was leading a team of 30 guys in two different states, driving back and forth, not seeing them for months. And even the year before that, when you were pregnant with our second and we were still living together, it was still a hard time.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, there was 2 summers in a row that it was just like, I wasn't emotionally available. You were in survival mode. We were just like hanging on. But we didn't even realize it until I started to go to a hot yoga class. And I did it because I was bad at yoga, because I've grown up doing rugby and different kind of weightlifting, not flexible at all. And so I was like, here's a good way to challenge myself. It's really hot, it sucks, so I'm going to challenge myself. And then I started to experience actually an emotional level, an embodied level of yoga, which I was kind of blown away about. And really fascinated. I'm a student. I always love learning, so I dove into like the history of yoga. I dove into the spirituality of it, and I started to figure out that it's this scientific system of using the body and the breath through pranayama to essentially, what they would say, self-realize or become whole or heal. And so I started going to a yoga teacher training, just like after 4 classes of doing like 4 yoga classes in my life. The 5th one, I walked in and was like, I'm ready for yoga teacher training. And she looked at me and she was like, you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, we take anybody, luckily. So she took me, and it was a brutal experience in the sense that it broke down my body, but also I started to open up within my mind and my emotion and my felt sense, perception of who I am and everything that was happening in my life. So that really opened me up to the therapeutic use of yoga. I got certified, didn't know what I was going to do with it. She got certified around the same time in breathwork, knew she wanted to help people. And then we move out here officially to South Carolina. I left that old business and leading sales teams and coaching young people in sales and emotional intelligence. Left that to figure out what we were going to do. That's the official step into the unknown when we moved out here. Realizing now in hindsight all the different pieces, right, and how actually our paths, although they were separate, have come together in now our collective, healing journey of ourselves and embodiment journey. I guess I like that word a lot. Embodiment journey, to be an embodied, husband and embodied father, embodied man, and same for you. And not man or husband, but wife and woman.
Right.
Yeah. And mother. Becoming more embodied and more able to emotionally regulate, more able to have emotional resilience. And that's when we started Polarity Plunge. Right? Where most people know who watch this channel know that we do sauna and cold plunging. And in the biohacking space right now, sauna and cold plunging is talked about a lot. It's talked about a lot for athletes, and athletes have used it forever, right? They have all the money in the world, they have all the training in the world, and one thing that is a non-negotiable for them is cold plunging and sauna, and especially with the new studies of infrared sauna coming out. But honestly, what got me into contrast therapy before all of that wasn't the biohacking. It wasn't so that I could feel great and feel awesome after workout, even though all of that is true. It was more so for the mental health aspect of I'm doing something challenging. I'm proving to myself, I'm stacking wins or stacking evidence that I can do hard things. However you want to explain it, I was drawn to it for those reasons, for the mental fortitude aspect of it. And then I started to realize that it was giving me so much more. It was giving me increased focus, increased energy, and all the benefits that you hear about cold plunging and saunas and breath work within a sauna, all those physical benefits. But being true to who I believe we're supposed to serve out here in the upstate, I started with more of the mental fortitude aspect of it. It's funny because as we've started this business, I've been thinking like, who needs it? And just automatically thinking about people that are athletes in jiu-jitsu, at CrossFit, and yeah, those people need it, want it, whatever, they're always welcome. But it's funny because we're not getting as much traction from the biohacking and the physical health community as we are from, like, for example, one of our members is someone who works in stocks and real estate and has a lot of kids, is really has a lot of pressure and overwhelm, and he's one of our most consistent members. And it's not because he's coming for the physical reasons, but he's coming for the emotional and the mental benefits he's found with it. Another one is in construction, but he's a general contractor. He's not I thought he was in construction and he loved it because he was coming for his knees and to help his back for the construction. And then talking to him, he was like, no, I'm actually just a general contractor, so I don't have any physical pain, but I'm stressed out of my mind with all of these things that I'm trying to run in general contracting. So that is really who, originally when I started out with cold plunging, I saw some like huge transformations of guys I was leading in my old job, and what inspired me to start it here was for the mental fortitude and being an active guy, the physical recovery, the inflammation, all of that as well. But yeah, little side tangent of who this is for. It's for anybody, but specifically it's for those people that need something besides just talk therapy, which is the norm for us right now, for us in the West right now. So let's see, what question can I ask you? Yeah, I guess along that same vein of the mental and emotional health of contrast therapy, have you found any benefits? You can speak honestly to your sauna experience.
To the sauna?
Yeah.
The sauna's nice.
Yeah.
The sauna's nice. Yeah, I mean, I won't pretend like I love cold plunging. I do feel really good after I do it, but I'm not someone who's like, oh, I'm so looking forward to getting in the cold plunge. The sauna I vibe with, it's nice because you can, sit in there. You can meditate, read a book, listen to a podcast, whatever, listen to music. And just like sitting there, you're getting you're giving your heart a workout. It strengthens your cardiovascular system. It also helps with inflammation. The infrared saunas really help with detoxing the body and anti-aging. It just does a lot for you, and you just get to sit there and enjoy it.
Which emphasizes like the sit there and the stillness. For you on your journey, why is stillness so important for holistic health, for emotional well-being?
Yeah, so I think that, like, talking about stillness, I think about like stillness mostly of, yes, the body, but I think that stillness of the body and stillness of the mind both are super powerful, and you kind of have to put them, like, work together to be fully present with the mind and the body. Yeah, I think the only way to really start noticing what is maybe like bubbling under the surface, or things that need to be felt, or even like thoughts that we tend to ignore, the only way I found, or the most productive way to really process those things, is to just take a moment to be still. Because I mean, if you're obviously, like, if you're constantly going and going and going, there's no space for those things that need to come through, because you're, even if you are like holding still, obviously, like laying, but you're scrolling on your phone, that's like numbing you out. So if you can come to a place where your mind is still, that creates a lot of space, and just also makes your body feel like it has permission to start allowing things to come through. And I kind of like to look at it as like an unlayering process emotionally, where something that first comes through might be just like discomfort of being still and having time to like really sit with yourself. And once you can kind of sit with that and be curious, it's always about curiosity, I think. Like, be curious about, okay, what am I avoiding then? Why am I not wanting to be still? And then maybe after that, something else will come through, like, oh, it's because I'm stressed about this thing. And then again, getting curious, like, what am I stressed about? Where do I feel like maybe I am like out of control in my life? Or where am I wanting to have more, control or whatever? And just kind of allowing those layers to keep surfacing and coming through. And where you end up might be a completely different place than like where you started. Sorry, I kind of got off track.
What reminded me of one of my favorite quotes is, all of the world's problems stem from the inability for man to sit alone quietly in a room. Because of that unlayering process, right? The reason why I'm stuck in this self-sabotage, whether it's addiction or emotional outbursts, is because I'm bottling it all up. Our language describes this perfectly. and then it explodes, right? Or I'm bottling it all up and then I just shut down and collapse and become numb, or I'm trying to actively numb with something else. So yeah, I really like the stillness, not just of body and of mind, and how the sauna really is such a great stillness practice, because you're getting all those physical benefits that you listed, the inflammation, the autophagy of your cells, you're cleaning up your dead cells, you're detoxing through your sweat. So it's still beneficial, productive, if you want to use that word, and you're able to just sit there and do nothing and step outside of the noisy world into, at first it might be a very noisy inner world, but as you continue to sit there, like you said, and unlayer, sit in the discomfort, you're going to begin to quiet that inner world and have the ability throughout the rest of your day to take that state out into the noisy world where you can just be still and composed, equanimity, right? I really like that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, you said cold plunging you don't love. What would you
I don't look forward to it.
No, neither do I. Nobody does. That's not the point. But the person who really is like resistant, I hate the cold, they say that, or they're really intimidated by it.
Yeah.
What would you tell them? Being one yourself.
Well, something that has helped me is obviously, especially if you're just not used to cold plunging, when you first get in, your mind immediately goes, get out, get out, get out, get out. I'm going to die. Please get out of this cold water. So what I try to focus on is just how many mental barriers can I get through. And you can set a goal, but you can also just be curious and just kind of continually push yourself. So when you get in, pretty quickly, usually you'll hear that first, mental, get out, and just know, okay, that's one. I'm going to stay in. It'll probably kick in again pretty soon. Get out, please get out. No, I'm going to stay in, and just see how many of those you can get through, And it's just reminding yourself, even if my mind is telling me that I can't do something, I'm going to basically just prove to myself I can do it, Yeah,
it's like working out your mind. It's like flexing the muscle of your mind. And we've talked about that a lot today. We've talked about the mental fortitude, the emotional regulation, emotional resilience, coming into a deeper understanding of where your feelings are at. That's kind of been the theme of all of today. And you see how the mind-body connection with all of our pillars really is connected. How I'm saying. The mind-body connection is real. With cold plunging specifically, there is a reason why it's such a huge trend right now. It's not just for the trend. There are so many people that are waking up and swearing by it, this is a non-negotiable for me now. And it's because it does something that can't even be explained. It can a little bit, you can explain the brain science. The dopamine increases 250% your baseline, which is more than Adderall, so it makes you so focused and so motivated. And you're releasing endorphins, which is your feel-good hormones, and it's like a dump of endorphins throughout your whole body. So you can explain it that way, but you don't really get it. The trend doesn't start for you personally until you experience it, until you actually consistently. And one guy that I mentored years ago when I first was cold plunging just in my backyard before we had Polarity Plunge, he was in this state of, I'd say depression, I guess, just had lost the will to continue to try. And she and I was mentoring him, we were talking, and nothing I could say, no framework of the mind could I tell him where he was oh yeah, that solved it. Except I was bro, I've been cold plunging, you should come over to my house and try it. And then he committed to try it for 100 days, and by day 25 to 30, complete 180 of where his mental state was at. Complete 180. And it sounds dramatic, but he'd always say oh yeah, that practice, that simple practice saved my life, He bought his own horse trough in his own backyard. So, I think it's just really, when you're looking at the trends and the overview of everything, it's hard to get the actual essences of all of these practices and how they're woven together. The breath work that you can do in the sauna, like Rach and I are always there when someone comes to Polarity Plunge for your contrast therapy session. If you're just doing that for an hour, going back and forth between sauna, cold plunge, then we can incorporate movement, somatic movements, qigong, tai chi into your sauna. We can incorporate breath work into your sauna. And then the big thing about the cold plunging is actually breathing too, is down regulating your system while you're in fight or flight. So that translates into your real world. All right, last question for you.
Okay.
This one's a good one. We've talked about who this is for in the sense of it's for your body if you have aches and pains. One of our members is a veteran who has double shoulder surgery, and this is the one thing he's found more than chiropractor, more than anything that has helped him. And it's also for the mind. We've talked about all the stories of those people. But why should someone prioritize this kind of work if they already work out, or if they already meditate, if they already feel like, they're on top of the world? What benefit would this bring to those people that are already doing some practices of holistic health?
The sauna cold plunge?
All of it. Polarity Plunge experience.
Well, you spoke to like people who work out. There's obviously benefits to recovery with sauna and cold plunging. So faster recovery. Do you want me to speak on all of them?
Just you just answer the question. Just whatever.
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, you can just think about it.
Okay, I'll think about it for a second. Ask me the question again.
Why should someone prioritize this kind of work? Try out the Polarity Plunge experience, even if they already work out, or they already meditate, or they already go to therapy.
Well, part of it, I think, too, is just trying something new. Obviously, if you've never saunaed or cold plunged, just seeing how that feels in your body. I think with meditating can do a lot of good, but I think there's something about being, if the people who are watching have heard the term of holding space, I think there's a lot of benefit to, being held and witnessed and just being in interaction with other people. So with the breath work and the movement and even the contrast therapy, because we're there if people need help or whatever. I think that it's really powerful to sit with someone and be able to go deeper because someone's there with you that knows what they're doing, that can hold you if something does come up. I think that it just creates more safety in the nervous system to be, like I said, to have someone holding the space for you. What do you think?
I love that, and I second all of that. The practice and the intentionality of coming to a space and learning and being curious and trying something out consistently is going to get you consistent benefits. And even with all the practices I do, this is one that adds to it and is a non-negotiable for me as much as I can. It's just nice that we have it. So to finish off, I wanted to just read our, I guess you could call it a purpose statement or mission statement, is just as I was thinking about who I wanted to serve, who I wanted to build this for, more than just ourselves and for the community aspect, which is our fifth pillar. So I'll read it, and it goes, Polarity Plunge is a safe haven from the world. This place is a beacon of light that people are drawn to from all walks of life. All who enter here are blessed with physical recovery and mental fortitude. Each person instantly feels revitalized in body and mind. We are leaders in the holistic health revolution that is happening right now. Those that find us are in resonance with all that we offer. Our schedule is filled up every week, and we handle this with grace and ease. At Polarity Plunge, we are here to help the one. As one enters, they sense the deep understanding and compassion that we have towards them and their journey. The joy and love that emanates from our studio enables one to get in touch with their true self and connect with higher power, which is what we're about in creating the entire experience. That's what we want people to feel when they come in, whether it's for a somatic session, whether it's for a breathwork session with Rage, or a contrast therapy session, or even just a plunge, which you can book on our website as well as just a 15-minute jump in a plunge once or twice. So if you haven't come and check us out, come check us out and do all the things on these social platforms as well so that we can find, if you're not the right person, we can find the right person, like, subscribe, the person that this is truly going to help as it has helped us. We love y'all, and please remember to keep smiling.